Welcome back, everyone, to a new story. We really hope you enjoy it. Who do you think you are? Asking me for my money. Uncle Walter's voice bounced off the thin walls of my tiny room, each word a hammer blow. I curled in on myself, making myself smaller on the edge of the lumpy mattress. His breath, a foul mix of stale beer and cheap cigars, filled the air even from the bottom of the attic stairs. It had been 6 months since the screech of tires and the deafening silence that followed. 6 months since the accident that had taken my parents and thrown me into this suffocating existence. At 19, I was an orphan, living under the roof of my father's brother, a man who seemed to resent my very presence. My world had shrunk to this attic room, a cramped space furnished with a creaky old bed and a wardrobe that groaned every time I dared to open it. The money was the real issue, the thing that hung between us like a thick, greasy smoke. $50,000 from my parents' life insurance, locked away in an account with Walter as the legal guardian. He was supposed to be keeping it for me, for my future, for college. But every time I tried to bring it up, his face would turn a blotchy red, and the shouting would start. He'd bellow about how I wasn't mature enough to handle that kind of cash, how I'd just waste it. The truth was, I think he was the one wasting it, one six-pack at a time. To escape, I found a job, or rather, I made one. I started mowing lawns for the neighbors. Every weekend, I'd push that clunky, sputtering machine from one yard to the next under the harsh summer sun. Sweat would soak through my t-shirt, sticking it to my back, and the sun would beat down on my neck. But I didn't care. Each dollar I earned was a small step toward freedom. My dream was simple, save enough to rent a tiny room somewhere, anywhere, away from this town and enroll in the local community college. My escape from the escape was a small lake at the end of our street. There was a single wooden bench there, overlooking the still water. I'd sit for hours, watching the ripples spread from a skipping stone, feeling a strange emptiness inside me. It wasn't just the grief for my parents, it was something else, something deeper I couldn't name. It was in those quiet moments that the strangest feeling would wash over me. I'd look at my reflection in the dark water, or catch a glimpse of myself in a shop window, and a wave of dislocation would hit me. The person staring back a lanky boy with slumped shoulders and dirt under his fingernails felt like a stranger. It was my face, my body, but it didn't feel like me. I felt like an actor playing a part I had never auditioned for, wearing a costume that didn't fit. The role of a son, a nephew, a boy, felt foreign, heavy, and I had no idea why. I'd go back to the attic, to the groaning wardrobe filled with baggy jeans and oversized t-shirts, the uniform for this role I was playing. I would lie in the dark, listening to the drone of the television from downstairs and the sound of Walter cracking open another beer. And I'd pray for an escape I couldn't yet imagine. I was holding my breath, waiting for my life to begin, not realizing that I was the one who had to decide to finally exhale. It was a blistering Saturday afternoon in June. The air was thick and heavy, the kind of heat that makes you feel like you're swimming through soup. I was wrestling with the lawnmower at the corner house, the one that had just been sold a few weeks back. I hadn't met the new owner yet. I'd only heard whispers from the neighbors that it was a young, single woman who had moved from the city. The machine roared and shook, and I paused to wipe a stream of sweat from my forehead. That's when I heard a soft voice from behind me. "Would you like some lemonade? You look like you're melting out here." I turned, and my breath caught in my throat. Standing on the porch was a woman who looked to be in her mid-20s. She had long, honey-blonde hair that fell in soft waves around her shoulders, and she was wearing a light, flowy maxi dress with a delicate floral pattern. But it was her smile that really got me. It was warm and genuine, like sunshine breaking through clouds. Yeah, thank you, ma'am," I mumbled, fumbling to switch off the mower's engine. The sudden silence felt loud. "Please call me Cassidy," she said, her smile widening. She gestured for me to come up to the porch. I hesitated, looking down at my grass-stained sneakers and dirty hands. "It's okay. Don't worry about the mess," she said, as if reading my mind. I sat gingerly on the edge of a wicker chair, trying to keep my dirty boots off her clean porch. She returned a moment later with a tall glass pitcher filled with lemonade. condensation trickling down its sides. The glass she handed me felt wonderfully cold in my hands. "Have you lived here long?" she asked. Her voice was gentle, without the prying curiosity I was used to from the other neighbors. I don't know why, but I started to talk. Maybe it was because no one had looked at me with such simple kindness in a long time. Maybe it was the quiet, non-judgmental way she listened. I told her everything. About the accident, about living with Uncle Walter, about my dream of going to college and the inheritance I couldn't touch. The words just poured out of me, a torrent of frustration and loneliness I hadn't realized I'd been holding back. Cassidy just listened, nodding occasionally. At one point, when my voice cracked telling her about my mom, she reached out and placed a hand lightly on my arm. It was a simple, comforting gesture, but it sent a warmth through me that had nothing to do with the summer heat. "You know," she said softly when I had finished, "sometimes life pushes us into a corner just so we can discover a brand new path. It might not be the path we planned, but it might just be the one that leads us to where we truly belong." Her words stuck with me, echoing in my head for the rest of the week. She paid me for the lawn, then offered me $20 an hour to help her with other things around the house, painting the fence, fixing some loose cabinets. I accepted immediately. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was an excuse to return to that house, a place where, for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. Over the next few days, I spent most of my afternoons at Cassidy's. Her house was like a different world. It was decorated in a way that was feminine but modern, sheer white curtains that danced in the breeze, beautiful floral paintings on the walls, and the constant, calming scent of lavender from candles she kept lit. Stepping inside felt like crossing a threshold into a place of peace. One afternoon, I was fixing a squeaky hinge on a living room cabinet. The door to her bedroom was slightly ajar, and my eyes were drawn to a dress hanging on the back of the door. It was a beautiful, pastel blue swing dress, the kind that would twirl if you spun around. The sunlight from the window caught the fabric, making it seem to shimmer. I just stood there, mesmerized, unable to look away. "It's pretty, isn't it?" I jumped, startled, as Cassidy appeared silently beside me, my face flushed with embarrassment. "Oh, I didn't mean to stare," I stammered, feeling like I'd been caught doing something wrong. "It's okay," she said, her smile gentle as always. "Beauty is just beauty. There's no shame in admiring it." Her words were a lifeline. She didn't think I was weird or creepy. She understood. In that moment, I felt a connection to her that went beyond friendship. She was seeing a part of me that I was only just beginning to realize existed, and she wasn't afraid of it. 2 months flew by. My time at Cassidy's house became the anchor of my week. The work gave me purpose, and our conversations gave me life. We had fallen into a comfortable rhythm, a unique friendship that felt more like family. It was a bond that didn't need a label. It was just us. One Friday evening, after I'd finished clearing out her dusty attic, Cassidy insisted I stay for dinner. She made a creamy pasta dish, lit a few candles on the coffee table, and even opened a bottle of white wine. She poured me a small glass, winking as she said, "A first time for everything, right?" We sat on the floor of her living room, leaning against the plush sofa. The flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating a cozy, intimate bubble around us. "Brent," she began, swirling the wine in her glass, "can I ask you something personal, and you absolutely don't have to answer if you don't want to?" My heart started beating a little faster. "Of course, you can ask me anything." She looked at me, her eyes seeming to see right through the clumsy, boyish exterior I presented to the world. "Do you ever feel like you don't quite belong in this body?" she asked, her voice soft but direct. "Like when you look in the mirror, the person you see is a stranger." The air left my lungs. It felt like she had reached into my chest and pulled out my deepest, most secret thought. I sat frozen, the wine glass trembling in my hand. No one had ever asked me that. No one had ever seen the disconnect, the confusion I lived with every single day. I hadn't even dared to put it into words for myself. How did you know?" My voice was barely a whisper. Cassidy gently placed her hand over mine. "Because I can feel your energy," she said. "It's not just masculine or feminine. It's something beautiful, something that's trying to break free. That was it. The dam broke. Tears I didn't even know I was holding back started streaming down my face. I bowed my head, unable to meet her gaze. I don't know who I am anymore. I choked out between sobs. Every morning, I have to force myself to be this person I'm not. Getting dressed feels like putting on someone else's uniform. And when you see things like dresses, she prompted gently, feminine things, what do you feel? I looked up, my vision blurry with tears. I want to wear them, I admitted, the confession feeling both terrifying and liberating. I want to know what it feels like, but I'm so scared of what it means. Cassidy smiled, a look of profound understanding on her face. She reached over and gently wiped a tear from my cheek. It means you're finally being honest with yourself, she said, and that's the bravest thing in the world. A quiet settled between us, punctuated only by the soft crackle of the candle wicks. My heart was pounding, a wild drumbeat of fear and hope. Do you want to try? Cassidy asked, her voice steady and sure. I swallowed hard. Try what? Try being yourself, even just for a few hours, right here in this house, where no one will ever judge you. The room felt silent enough to hear a pin drop. One part of me screamed to run, to hide, to pretend this conversation never happened. But another part, a voice that had been silenced for years, was crying out in desperate hope. It was the desire to finally shed this heavy, ill-fitting costume and see who was underneath. Yes, I whispered, the word barely audible but filled with the weight of my entire life. I want to try. Cassidy led me into her bedroom. It was her sanctuary. Calm and serene, the bed was covered in crisp white linens, and a soft yellow light glowed from the lamp on her oak vanity table. The air smelled of her, of lavender and something sweet. She walked over to her closet and opened the doors, revealing a world of color and soft fabrics. Okay, she said, her voice a comforting anchor in my sea of nerves. We'll take this one step at a time. If you feel uncomfortable at any point, we stop immediately. Deal? I could only nod, my hands clenched so tightly at my sides that my knuckles were white. I was standing on the edge of a cliff, about to jump, trusting that she would teach me how to fly. Step 1, the foundation. First things first, we prep the canvas, Cassidy said, leading me to her bathroom. She handed me a bottle of body wash. Take a nice hot shower. Use this, it smells like jasmine. And then use this moisturizer all over. I closed the bathroom door, my reflection staring back from the mirror as it fogged with steam. I saw the same lanky frame, the slightly stooped shoulders, the sun-darkened skin of a boy who worked outdoors. I stripped off my clothes, the familiar jeans and t-shirt feeling like a shell I was shedding. In the shower, I lathered the jasmine soap. The scent was delicate, intoxicatingly feminine. With each motion, it felt like I was washing away more than just dirt. I was washing away years of pretense. When I emerged, wrapped in a fluffy white towel, Cassidy had laid out a few items on her bed. A simple beige dress, a pair of sheer pantyhose, and a bra and panties. Don't worry, I'll turn around, she said. Sensing my hesitation, you put these on first. She faced the wall, giving me my privacy. Step 2, the base layers. My hands trembled as I picked up the bra. It was made of soft, white lace, with gentle padding in the cups. As I fastened the clasp in the back, the feeling of the lace against my skin and the subtle lift it gave my chest sent a jolt through me. It was so foreign, yet it felt right. I looked down, and for the first time, I saw the hint of a curve that wasn't there before. Are you doing okay? Cassidy asked, her back still to me. Yeah, I breathed out. It's strange, but good strange. Next were the pantyhose. I sat on the edge of the bed and carefully, awkwardly, rolled them up my legs, terrified of causing a run. The feeling of the sheer nylon hugging my skin was a revelation. It was a smooth, silky caress that made my legs feel different, longer, more elegant. I stood up and looked in the full-length mirror. My legs looked transformed. Now for the dress, Cassidy said, passing it to me over her shoulder. The zipper is in the back. Just take your time. I slipped the dress over my head. The soft, flowy fabric slid over my skin. settling around my waist. I reached back, my fingers fumbling with the tiny zipper. After a moment of struggle, Cassidy stepped in to help. As she zipped it up, I felt a click, both in the dress and inside my soul. An old door had just been locked, and a new one was swinging wide open. "You can look now," she said softly. Step 3, the artistry. She sat me down at her vanity, the warm lights framing the large mirror. I saw a face that was still mine, but in a new context. The sharp jaw, the thick eyebrows, it was all still there. "We'll start with the foundation," Cassidy explained, dabbing a light liquid onto the back of her hand. She gently applied it to my face with a sponge, her touch soft and sure. "This just evens out your skin tone." Her fingertips grazed my skin as she blended, and with each touch, I felt myself relaxing. The foundation blurred the imperfections, making my skin look smoother, brighter. She moved on to powder, a soft blush that brought a warm glow to my cheeks, and then the eyes. "Eyeliner is tricky," she warned, holding a slim pencil. "Close your eyes and try to stay very still." I felt the delicate tickle of the pencil as she drew a thin, elegant line along my upper lash line. It was an alien sensation. Then came mascara, the tiny wand brushing against my lashes, coaxing them upward, making them look longer and fuller. My eyes, when I opened them, looked bigger, more expressive. "And now the lips," she said, twisting open a tube of lipstick. It was a beautiful nude pink shade. "Pout just a little." The creamy lipstick glided across my lips, making them feel soft and defined. I looked at the face in the mirror, and the transformation was staggering. The harsh angles seemed softer, the features more delicate. Step 4, the crowning glory. "Your hair is a bit short for the look, but I have just the thing," Cassidy said, pulling a box from her closet. She lifted out a wig shoulder length, a warm chestnut brown with gentle, natural-looking waves. She carefully fitted it over my own hair, adjusting it until it sat perfectly. I felt the soft weight on my head, the surprising sensation of silky strands brushing against my neck and shoulders. It was the final piece of the puzzle. "All right," Cassidy whispered, her hands on my shoulders. "Open your eyes, look in the mirror." I took a deep, shaky breath and lifted my gaze. And I saw her. It wasn't that I didn't recognize myself. It was that, for the very first time, I did. The person in the mirror wasn't Brent in a dress. She was someone else entirely, someone who had been hiding inside me my whole life. A young woman with soft features, kind eyes, and a shy, tentative smile playing on her pink lips. The dress hugged a figure that now had curves, and the brown hair framed her face beautifully. Tears welled in my eyes and spilled down my cheeks, smudging the mascara I'd just applied. As she raised a trembling hand to her face, touching her cheek in disbelief. "This is you," Cassidy whispered from behind me. "This is the person I saw, waiting to come out." I'm beautiful," I heard myself say, the voice cracking with emotion. For the first time in my life, I looked at my reflection and felt not just acceptance, but actual beauty. I stood up and did a slow turn in front of the mirror. The dress flared out gently. The pantyhose shimmered on my legs. Every movement felt new, graceful. I held my shoulders back differently, stood taller. "Does she have a name?" Cassidy asked gently. I didn't have to think. A name had hovered in the back of my mind for years. A name I'd scribbled in notebooks and then furiously torn out in shame. "Haley," she whispered. "My name is Haley." That night, Haley and Cassidy stayed up until the early hours of the morning, talking. I told her everything about what it felt like to be Brent, this constant sense of performance and alienation. "How do you feel now?" she asked. "I feel alive," I answered, the word tasting true on my lips for the first time. After all these years, I finally feel like I'm really breathing. When it was finally time to go, the process of undoing the magic was heartbreaking. The makeup came off with soft cotton pads. The wig was carefully put away, and the dress was hung back in the closet. But as I looked at Brent's face in the mirror again, something was different. I could still see her. I now knew Haley was there, underneath. You can come back anytime you want to be Haley, Cassidy said as I left, and one day you'll figure out how to be her all the time. My life split in two. Mornings began in the gloomy attic, where I pulled on Brent's uniform of baggy jeans and worn-out sneakers. I was Brent, the quiet orphan who mowed lawns and endured his uncle's tirades. But in the afternoons, when I stepped across the threshold of Cassidy's house, I became Haley. The transformation process, which had once felt like a monumental ceremony, became a familiar, comforting ritual. Cassidy began teaching me to do things for myself. The second week, our lesson was makeup. We sat side by side at her vanity. Foundation needs to be blended down your neck, so there's no line, she instructed. And blush goes on the apples of your cheeks, then swept upwards. It gives you a lift. My first attempts were clumsy. I smudged my eyeliner, creating a raccoon-like smear, but Cassidy was endlessly patient. She'd gently wipe it away and guide my hand again. After a dozen tries, I drew a clean, sharp line. You're a natural, she cheered. Each small success felt like a major victory. Another step toward claiming this identity as my own. The third week, we went shopping. We drove to a thrift store in the next town over, a place where no one would recognize me. For the first time, I was the one choosing. I let my fingers glide over the fabric, soft silk, crisp cotton, airy chiffon. Each texture was a new sensation. I like simple, feminine things, I told her, my voice still shy. I pulled a mint green midi dress from the rack. Inside the cramped fitting room, I zipped up the dress myself. It fit perfectly, cinching at my waist and flaring out at my hips. I twirled, just a little, and watched the skirt swish around my legs. A thrill shot through me. This wasn't just a costume Cassidy had picked. This was a choice I had made. This was Haley's style. We left with 3 dresses, 2 blouses, and a pair of ballet flats, all paid for by Cassidy, who called it a welcome to the world gift. I clutched the bag all the way home like it contained precious jewels. By the second month, Haley was becoming less of an act and more of an existence. Cassidy taught me how to move, how to walk with grace. Walk from your hips, not your shoulders, she'd say, guiding me around the living room. Relax your arms, let them swing naturally. She gave me a pair of low heels, just 2 inches high. At first, I stumbled like a baby deer, but I practiced for hours, walking back and forth on her hardwood floors until my steps became steady, then confident, then fluid. It wasn't about pretending to be a woman. It was about unlearning the clunky, heavy movements of a boy who was always trying to hide and allowing a more natural grace to emerge. One evening, Cassidy looked at me, a thoughtful expression on her face. Are you ready to go out? My heart leaped into my throat. Out and in public, what if someone sees me? We'll drive to a town 30 minutes away. No one there knows you. She reassured me. Haley can't stay locked up in this house forever. She deserves to see the world. I was terrified, but also incredibly excited. I chose my outfit carefully, a simple black dress, a denim jacket, and the ballet flats. My makeup was subtle, my wig pulled back into a low ponytail. Looking in the mirror, I saw a normal-looking young woman. The normalcy of it was the most magical part. The car ride was silent. I stared out the window, my hands twisting the strap of my purse. When we arrived at a small, cozy coffee shop, I felt a fresh wave of panic. Cassidy took my hand. It's okay. Just be you. We found a quiet table in the corner. I sat with my back straight, just as she'd taught me, my purse in my lap. A young waitress with short, punky hair came over. Hi, ladies, what can I get for you? She asked with a cheerful smile. Ladies, she had called me a lady. My eyes met hers for a fleeting second, and I saw nothing, no suspicion, no confusion, just a waitress talking to 2 customers. I'll have a hot latte, please, I managed to say, my voice a little higher than usual. You got it. When she walked away, I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Cassidy just smiled. See, you're Haley. To the rest of the world, you're just Haley. For the first time, sitting in that bustling cafe, I felt like I belonged. I was just another person in the world, not an anomaly, not a secret. As we were getting ready to leave, a young man who had been sitting near the door stood up as we passed. "Excuse me," he said, his eyes on me. "I don't mean to bother you, but I just wanted to say, you're very beautiful." I froze, completely stunned. Cassidy gave my hand a reassuring squeeze. "Thank you," I squeaked out, my cheeks burning. "I was wondering if I could maybe get your number," he asked, a hopeful smile on his face. "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm seeing someone," I lied quickly, practically pulling Cassidy out the door. Back in the car, the adrenaline gave way to tears. He thought I was a real girl. I whispered, my voice thick with awe. He was attracted to me. "Because you are a real girl," Cassidy said firmly. "You aren't pretending. This is who you are. Your beauty is real. Your femininity is real." Her words sank in. The compliment from that stranger, as terrifying as it was also the most validating experience of my life. Someone saw Haley, and he thought she was beautiful for the first time. I started to wonder if, one day, I could be Haley all the time. The conflict between my two lives was becoming unbearable. Brent's world felt like a gray, faded photograph, while Haley's was bursting with vibrant color. I knew I couldn't keep living in black and white. 3 months had passed since Haley's birth. The time I spent as Brent began to feel less like my real life and more like a prison sentence. Every morning, putting on those heavy, shapeless clothes felt like putting on a straitjacket. Every evening, hearing Uncle Walter's drunken yelling felt like a knife twisting in my gut. Haley was the one who was real, Brent was the disguise. One night, I did something risky. After Walter had passed out in front of the TV, I snuck one of my dresses, a pair of flats, and my small makeup bag back to my attic room. I locked the door, turned on my tiny desk lamp, and carefully transformed, standing in front of the small cracked mirror on my wardrobe. I saw Haley, trapped in Brent's dingy room, and I started to cry. "I can't do this anymore," I whispered to my reflection. "I have to get out." The next evening, I went to Cassidy's with a new resolve. "Cassidy, we need to talk," I said, my voice serious, "about the future." We sat on her sofa, mugs of tea warming our hands. "I'm listening," she said. "I want to be Haley, full-time," I said, the words feeling momentous. "Not just for a few hours, not just in this house. I want to live my life, my real life, as a woman." She placed her hand over mine, her expression warm and knowing. "I knew this day would come," she said, "and I'm going to help you, every step of the way." But how the practicalities felt overwhelming. I need money, a lot of it, for my own apartment, for hormones, for changing my documents. "We make a plan," she said calmly. "Step 1, you move out of your uncle's house. Step 2, you find a steady job as Haley. Step 3, you start hormone therapy. I'll help you with the initial costs. Consider it a no-interest loan. You can pay me back when you're on your feet." Tears filled my eyes. "Why? Why are you doing all this for me?" "Because I know what it feels like to be trapped in the wrong body," she said softly. "And because everyone deserves the chance to live their truth." Her words gave me the strength I needed. We spent the next week preparing. Cassidy helped me create a new resume under the name Haley Davis. We took a professional-looking headshot of me in a simple white blouse, my makeup clean and professional, a confident smile on my face. "What about work experience?" I asked, panicking. All I know how to do is mow lawns. "You've been helping me manage this house for months," she said. "That's household management. And you have an amazing eye for aesthetics. You'd be great in retail," she smiled. "In fact, I know just the place. A friend of mine owns a women's clothing boutique and she's hiring." A week later, I had an interview. I wore a sophisticated navy blue dress with a beige blazer, walking into Bella's boutique, a charming shop in the older part of town. My heart pounded against my ribs. The owner, a chic older woman named Mrs. Linda, greeted me with a warm smile. "Haley, so nice to meet you. Cassidy has told me wonderful things." The interview felt more like a conversation. Mrs. Linda asked why I wanted the job. I told her the truth that I love fashion and I wanted to help women feel beautiful and confident. "Do you know much about styling?" she asked. I thought about all the hours I'd spent with Cassidy, poring over magazines, learning about fabrics and silhouettes. I know that an A-line skirt can flatter a pear-shaped figure, and that a wrap dress is universally flattering, I said, surprising myself with my own confidence. I understand how to pair colors with different skin tones. Mrs. Linda looked impressed. You can start next week, 2 to 7, Monday through Friday, $15 an hour. I practically floated out of the store. Cassidy was waiting in the car, and I threw my arms around her. I got it. I have a job as Haley. For the next 2 weeks, I moved in secret. I packed my few belongings into small cardboard boxes, hiding them under my bed. Cassidy let me store them at her place. One night, while Walter snored on the couch, I sat down and wrote him a letter. Dear Uncle Walter, I'm writing to say goodbye. I've decided it's time for me to find my own way. I know you won't understand this, and you'll probably be angry, but I can't keep living as someone I'm not. My real name is Haley. I'm a woman, and I'm going to start living as one. I'm not asking for your acceptance. I'm just asking you to let me go. Regarding the inheritance, I will contact a lawyer when I am old enough. I don't expect anything from you. Goodbye, Haley. On a gray Sunday morning, while the house was still quiet, I put on Brent's clothes for the very last time. In my backpack, I carried a dress, shoes, and my makeup. I left the letter on the kitchen table, took one last look at the attic room that had been my prison, and walked out the front door without looking back. Cassidy was waiting at the curb, the engine running. I got in, a profound sense of relief washing over me. Ready, she asked. More than ready, I said, my voice clear and steady. She drove me to a small studio apartment she had helped me rent, paying the first 3 months' deposit for me. It was on the second floor of a quiet building with a big window overlooking a tree-lined street. Welcome home, Haley, Cassidy said, handing me the key. I stepped inside. The room was mostly empty, just a bed, a small table, and a closet, but it was all mine. It was a space where I could be myself. 24/7, I sank to my knees in the middle of the floor and wept. Not with sadness, but with the overwhelming, earth-shattering joy of finally being free. I was home. My first Monday as a full-time woman began with sunlight streaming through my window. I woke up not in a dark attic, but in my own space, Haley's space. I took a long, hot shower, feeling the water wash over a body that, while still biologically male, felt more like my own than ever before. This was the body I would nurture, the body that would slowly change to match the woman I was inside. I took my time with my makeup, applying each layer with care. I chose a gray midi dress and a soft white cardigan for my first day of work. Looking in the mirror, I saw not a costume, but a reflection of my true self, Haley, a young professional ready to start her new life. At Bella's boutique, Mrs. Linda introduced me to my co-worker, Sarah, a cheerful red-headed woman in her mid-20s. Welcome, Haley, so great to have you, Sarah said, her handshake firm and friendly. The day was a blur of learning how to fold sweaters just right, how to work the cash register, how to approach customers without being pushy. My first real customer was a middle-aged woman looking for a dress for her daughter's wedding. What can I help you find? I asked, my smile feeling natural. Following my instincts, I picked out a classic navy blue gown. I think this color would be stunning with your skin tone, I told her. When she tried it on and her face lit up, a warmth spread through my chest. You have a wonderful eye, she said as I rang up her purchase. Thank you, young lady. Young lady, the words were music to my ears. I wasn't just being tolerated, I was being seen and accepted as the woman I was. 2 weeks into my new life, Cassidy took me to see a doctor she knew, Dr. Martinez, who specialized in transgender healthcare. The clinic was warm and welcoming. I sat nervously in the examination room until a kind-faced woman with silver hair and a gentle smile came in. Hello, Haley, I'm Dr. Martinez. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your journey? For an hour, I told her everything. She listened with compassion, asking questions to understand my experience fully. I've read about hormone therapy, I explained, wanting her to know I was serious. I know it will cause changes, softer skin, breast development. I know it takes time. You've done your research, she said with a nod. That's wonderful. We'll start you on a low dose of estradiol and spironolactone. Remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Be patient with your body. I left the clinic clutching the prescription, feeling like I was holding the key to my future. That evening, in the quiet of my apartment, I swallowed my first pill. I placed a hand over my heart, knowing that from this moment on, my body would begin its slow, miraculous journey toward aligning with my soul. The changes started subtly. In the first month, my skin became noticeably softer and less oily. Then, my chest began to feel tender, and I noticed the first tiny promising swell of breast buds. I would stand in front of the mirror every night, crying tears of joy at these small signs. This wasn't padding anymore, this was me. With Cassidy's help, I hired a lawyer and began the process of legally changing my name. 3 months later, I stood before a judge. "Are you certain you wish to change your name from Brent Davis to Haley Davis?" the judge asked. "Yes, Your Honor, I am," I said, my voice unwavering. "That is my true name." The judge, a stern-looking older woman, looked at me over her glasses and her expression softened. "The court approves this petition. From this day forward, your legal name is Haley Marie Davis. Good luck to you, my dear." I walked out of that courthouse legally and officially myself. Over the next few weeks, I got a new driver's license, a new social security card, a new bank account. Every time I signed the name Haley or checked the F box for gender, it felt like I was rewriting my own history, correcting a mistake that had been made at birth. At the boutique, I thrived. I discovered I had a real talent for making women feel good about themselves. I became friends with Sarah, and we'd often get coffee after work. One night, she invited me to the movies with her group of friends. I was nervous, but I went. They were all friendly and welcoming. No one treated me any differently. I was just Haley, Sarah's new friend from work. During pizza afterward, a sweet, quiet guy from the group named Jake started talking to me. He asked about my job, and I found myself speaking passionately about how much I loved it. "You really seem to love what you do," he said with a genuine smile. "That's really cool." I felt a little flutter in my stomach. Later, as we were leaving, Sarah elbowed me. "Jake totally has a crush on you," she whispered. My mind raced. A part of me was thrilled, but another part was terrified. What would happen if he found out about my past? "I'm not ready for that," I told Sarah quietly. She squeezed my hand. "That's okay. Take your time. But just know this, Haley, you deserve to be loved. You deserve all the happiness in the world." Walking home that night, I realized how far I'd come. I had a home, a job I loved, friends who cared about me, and a body that was finally starting to feel like my own. The first blooms of my new life were starting to open, and they were more beautiful than I ever could have imagined. A year into my new life, the changes from the hormones were undeniable. My body had softened and curved in ways that felt wonderfully right. My chest had developed to a B cup, my hips had widened, and my skin was smooth. My hair, my real hair, now fell to my shoulders in soft brown waves. I no longer needed a wig to feel like myself. I was Haley, inside and out. But a new desire was stirring within me. It wasn't about my body anymore. It was about my purpose. One evening, as I was taking off my makeup, I stared at my reflection. I had become so skilled at the artistry of it, the perfect winged eyeliner, the seamless blend of eyeshadow, the precise application of lipstick. This was more than just a routine. "I love this," I whispered to myself. "This is what I want to do." The next day, I went to Cassidy's. "I want to go to beauty school," I announced. "I want to become a professional hair and makeup artist." A brilliant smile spread across Cassidy's face. "I've been waiting for you to say that," she said. "You have a gift, Haley. It's time to share it with the world." We found the Manhattan Beauty Academy, a prestigious school with a year-long cosmetology program. The tuition was $12,000, an impossible sum. "I can't afford it," I said, my heart sinking. "You have me," Cassidy replied without hesitation. "I'll loan it to you. Think of it as an investment in your future, because I know, without a doubt, that you are going to be a star." My interview at the academy included a practical test: create a simple makeup look on a mannequin head. As my hands went to work, all my nerves faded away. My fingers moved with a practiced confidence, blending and shaping, bringing the mannequin's plastic face to life. You have real talent. The interviewer, Ms. Chen, told me afterward, you're in. Beauty school was my paradise. Our main instructor was a flamboyant Italian artist named Paolo, who had worked at Milan Fashion Week. Makeup is not about covering up, he'd declare dramatically. It is about revealing the beauty that is already there. I soaked up everything like a sponge. I learned color theory, facial anatomy, haircutting techniques, and the science of chemical treatments. My favorite days were when we worked on real volunteer clients. My first client was a woman named Sandra who wanted to look good for her high school reunion. I gave her a soft, elegant look that made her eyes sparkle. She looked in the mirror and gasped. "Oh my God, I look 10 years younger," she cried. "You're a magician." "Not magic," I smiled. "I just helped you see the beauty that was there all along." For our final project, we had to create a complete look based on a theme of our choosing. I chose metamorphosis. It was my own story. On one half of the model's face, I created a dark, somber look representing my past. On the other half, I used bright, shimmering colors to represent my present and future. When I presented my project, explaining the story behind it, Paolo led the class in a standing ovation. "Haley," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "that is not just makeup. That is art. You have vision." I graduated at the top of my class. At the ceremony, Cassidy sat in the front row, tears streaming down her face as I accepted my diploma. I was no longer the lost boy from a small town. I was Haley Marie Davis, a professionally certified cosmetologist, an artist ready to make her mark on the world. After graduation, I started working as a freelance artist, building a portfolio by doing makeup for small weddings and local photo shoots. My Instagram page slowly gained a following. Then one day, I got a call that changed everything. "This is Marcus Rivera, creative director for Salon Luxe." A smooth voice said, "I've seen your work. I'm impressed. We're looking for a new stylist. Would you be interested in an interview?" My heart stopped. Salon Luxe was the most exclusive, high-end salon in the city, a place where celebrities and socialites went to be pampered. "Yes, absolutely." "Yes," I stammered. The salon was even more glamorous in person. Marcus, a sharp, impeccably dressed man in his 40s, interviewed me himself. At the end of our conversation, he said, "I need to see you work. I have a VIP client coming in this afternoon. She's a fashion editor. She needs hair and makeup for a gala tonight. Think you can handle it?" This was the ultimate test. "I'll do my very best," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The client was Victoria Stone, a formidable woman with a critical eye. "I need a look that is elegant but bold," she stated, her tone leaving no room for error. I took a deep breath and began. I gave her classic, old Hollywood waves and a dramatic makeup look with a smoky brown eye and a deep burgundy lip. For an hour and a half, I worked in a state of intense focus. When I was finished, she stared at her reflection in silence. My stomach twisted into knots. Then, she turned to me, and a slow smile spread across her face. "This is exactly what I wanted," she said, "but better. You're a true artist." Marcus, who had been watching from the doorway, beamed, "Welcome to Salon Luxe, Haley." Working at the salon was demanding, but I loved it. I built a loyal clientele who appreciated my skill and the positive, calming energy I brought to my work. A few months later, Marcus called me into his office. "Jennifer Hartley, the editor-in-chief of Glamour magazine, is coming in for a cover shoot tomorrow," he said, "and she has specifically requested you." But why? I was stunned. "Victoria Stone recommended you. She told Jennifer you were the most talented stylist she's ever worked with." The cover shoot was at a huge, professional studio. Jennifer Hartley was an icon, a powerful woman who commanded the room. "Victoria speaks very highly of you," she said, her gaze intense. "Don't disappoint me." She asked for a look that was authoritative, but approachable. I knew exactly what she meant. I gave her a fresh, luminous makeup look that enhanced her features without masking them, and styled her hair in a sleek, powerful look. When she saw the result, she looked at me in the mirror with a newfound respect. "You didn't try to change me," she said. "You just helped me shine. That is a rare talent." The shoot was a massive success. Afterward, Jennifer pulled me aside. Haley, Glamour is starting a new YouTube series with beauty tutorials. She said, I want you to be one of our featured experts. Are you interested? I was speechless. This was a dream come true, but it also sparked a familiar fear. Being on camera meant being seen by millions. My past, my identity, would be out there for the world to scrutinize. That night, I fled to Cassidy's, my heart torn. What if they find out I'm trans, I cried. What if they hate me? Cassidy took me by the shoulders and looked me straight in the eye. Listen to me, Haley, your past is a part of your story, but it does not define you. You are a talented, brilliant, beautiful woman, and if some people can't accept that, it is their problem, not yours. Don't you dare hide your light. She was right. I couldn't live in fear anymore. The next day, I called Jennifer Hartley. I'll do it. My first video was titled Quick and Easy Office Glam. I was nervous, but once the camera started rolling, I just spoke from the heart, as if I were talking to a friend. The video went viral. Within a week, it had over 500,000 views. The comments were overwhelmingly positive. She's such a great teacher, so calm and talented. Haley is amazing, what an inspiration. Of course, there were a few comments speculating about my identity. Is she trans? Her voice is a little deep. But for every one of those, there were 10 more that said, who cares? She's incredible. Gender is irrelevant when you have that much talent. One comment brought tears to my eyes. Haley gives me so much hope. As a young trans girl, seeing her succeed makes me feel like I can too. I had been so afraid of being exposed, but in the light of the public eye, I found not hate, but acceptance. I wasn't just a makeup artist anymore. I was becoming a role model. I had found my voice, and I was ready to use it. Within 6 months, I had become a bona fide beauty influencer. My own YouTube channel was nearing 1 million subscribers. Brands were lining up to work with me, and magazines wanted my story. But the call that truly signified I had made it came from the epicenter of the fashion world. Haley Davis, this is Rachel Kim, casting director for New York Fashion Week. We would like to invite you to be on the backstage makeup team for the Vera Wang show. I think I stopped breathing. Vera Wang, New York Fashion Week. It was the absolute pinnacle of the industry. The backstage area of the show was a whirlwind of controlled chaos supermodels, photographers, and an electric current of high-stakes pressure. I was assigned 5 models, tasked with creating the show's signature urban goddess look. My hands moved quickly and precisely, my focus absolute. When the show started, I stood in the wings, watching the models walk the runway, their faces illuminated by the flashes of 100 cameras. Wearing my work, it was surreal. After the show, the legendary Vera Wang herself walked over to me, touched my arm, and said, "The makeup was beautiful, exactly what I envisioned. Thank you." In that moment, I knew I had reached a professional peak I had never dared to dream of. The exposure led to an in-depth interview with Vogue. The journalist, a kind woman named Amanda, asked me directly about my journey. Haley, many people are inspired by you as a prominent transgender woman. Would you be willing to share your story? Taking a deep breath, I knew this was my moment. I told them everything. I spoke of Brent, the lost and lonely boy. I spoke of Cassidy, my guardian angel. I described the journey of hormones and self-discovery. The beauty industry saved my life, I concluded, because it taught me that real beauty is about one thing: living your truth. The article, Haley Davis, The Beauty of Being True, sparked a massive wave of public support. I received thousands of messages from people all over the world, especially from young LGBTQ+ kids who saw hope in my story. My journey had found its ultimate purpose: to light the way for others. Amidst all the career success, my personal life was also blossoming. Jake, the kind man I had met through Sarah, had been patiently getting to know me. After the Vogue article came out, he took me to a nice dinner. I read the article. "Haley," he said, his eyes full of warmth, "and I just want you to know, it doesn't change anything. If anything, it makes me admire you even more for your strength and courage. You are an amazing woman, and I would be honored to be a part of your life, if you'll let me." Tears streamed down my face. For the first time, I felt truly seen and loved for exactly who I was, past and present. The following year, I was invited back to Fashion Week, this time as a lead makeup artist. I knew I had to do something special. I called the organizers and arranged for a VIP front row ticket for Cassidy. I delivered it to her myself. "Haley, you didn't have to do this," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I had to," I said, hugging her tightly. "None of this would have happened without you. You believed in me before I believed in myself. I need you there, in the front row, to see what you helped create." On the night of the show, as I directed my team backstage, I glanced out at the audience. There was Cassidy, beaming with pride. Nearby sat Jake, Sarah, Mrs. Linda, and even Paolo from beauty school. My entire support system was there. When the show ended and I took my bow on stage, my eyes met Cassidy's, and in that silent look, a universe of gratitude was exchanged. Later, I stood on a balcony overlooking the sparkling New York City skyline, Jake's hand in mine. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "I'm thinking," I said, a soft smile on my face, "that not so long ago, I was a boy drowning in sadness. And tonight, I'm a woman standing on top of the world. The journey was hard, but it was worth every tear." Cassidy joined us, slipping her arm through mine. "You know, Haley," she said quietly, "when you came into my life, I was lost too, helping you find yourself. It healed me in ways I never expected." I looked at her, and a new understanding dawned. You went through this too, didn't you?" She nodded, a knowing, gentle smile on her face. "That's a story for another day," she said, "but the point is we save each other. By lifting others up, we lift ourselves." The three of us stood there, bathed in the city lights. I closed my eyes, feeling the cool night air on my skin and the warmth of the people I loved beside me. The scent in the air was no longer jasmine or lavender. It was the sweet, intoxicating scent of freedom. I was no longer running, no longer hiding. I was finally, completely, and triumphantly home.